You are listening to an update from Washington with the Congressman from Alabama's 1st Congressional District, Bradley Byrne. Now from our nation's capital, Congressman Byrne.
Well, welcome into this edition of an update from Washington. I'm Seth Morrow, joined by Congressman Bradley Byrne. And today we're going to be talking about Pope Francis's speech to Congress. But first, Congressman, can you tell us what exactly is a joint session of Congress?
A joint session of Congress is when the Senate and the House meets together in the House chambers because it's big enough to hold all of us. We usually include other people in government. For example, today we had the members of the cabinet. We also had members of the Supreme Court. We had members of the diplomatic corps there. So we had quite a set of leadership in the room. Now, for the State of the Union speech, obviously we have the president as well. But on most of these occasions, when the president's not there, we have the vice president because he's the presiding officer of the Senate. So it's a pretty big deal. And on a day like today, when we have the number of people, and of course having the Pope, the security is pretty tight.
And so what exactly were your big takeaways from what the Pope had to say, and what did he say?
He said a lot. And if you look at the actual text of what he said, you'll see that most of us would agree with virtually everything that he said because he didn't talk about very many specific policy positions. He talked a lot about family, which I was glad to hear about. I think that is a big issue for America today. And he was speaking from a traditional family point of view. So I was really pleased to hear him say that. He talked a lot about the obligation we have to take care of those among us who don't have as much as the rest of us. And I don't care whether you're liberal or conservative, we all believe that too. We may disagree about how you do that, but we all understand that we in America are going to be generous to people because we're generous people. He talked about the need for people to work together, for leadership to find ways to work together. And I don't think there's any doubt that we need to come together as Americans and solve the problems that are before us. And we did have quite a discussion in there about people from America who are exemplars to him of great ideas and moments in history. Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, Dorothy Day, Thomas Merton. So he made it a very American speech. It wasn't just a speech by the Pope of the International Roman Catholic Church. He was speaking to everyone in America, and I was glad to be there to hear it.
You mentioned that he spoke about traditional family and pro-life issues. Why was that important to you that those topics were included?
You know, we shy away from talking about things like that too often. We shy away from talking about how the family is the central focus of American life. It's not the government, it's families. It's your family and my family and all the families in Southwest Alabama. So I was glad to hear him focus on that, and we do need to talk about life. We need to talk about life as a moral issue because it is a moral issue. And to have a moral international leader like him stand up and state that so simply, but I thought so eloquently, I thought that was good for America, good for the world.
And the Pope also talked about bipartisanship, and he urged Congress to work together across party aisles. Do you think that's something that can actually happen?
Yeah, I think it does actually happen. We have far more consensus on legislation than we don't. It's just the media focuses on the things that we don't have consensus on, and it's always been a part of the American political system. I think the biggest problem has been we haven't had good working relationship with the executive branch, and that's been true whether you're a Democrat or Republican over here in Congress. So, you know, this president's not going to be around that much longer. We're about to make decisions as a country as who our next president's going to be. Let's find a president who's willing to work with the Congress, work with both parties in Congress to find ways to move America forward.
And as a person of faith and as people of faith gathered in Washington, thousands of people, just how important was this moment, the first time a pope has addressed a joint session of Congress?
I think it was real important, particularly at this point in time, to inject a moral note into our national public policy discussion. I welcome him. I'm not a Roman Catholic. Probably don't agree with everything that he's taken a policy position on. That's okay. I don't mind being challenged by him, and I hope we'll have more people that will come in and challenge us because speaking to public issues from a position of faith is a good thing.
Well, I think we're out of time, but thank you once again, Congressman.
It's always good to be here, and I hope everybody in the district will stay in touch with us in our offices in Mobile and Summerdale.
You have been listening to an update from Washington with Congressman Bradley Byrne. Congressman Byrne encourages you to contact him with any comments or questions. You can email him online at byrne.house.gov or find him on Facebook under U.S. Representative Bradley Byrne. Stay tuned to this station next week for another timely report from our nation's capital. This broadcast has been pre-recorded.